Okay, let's start by setting the clock. It's the middle of the night.
Right.
It is that specific, heavy, suffocating hour in London, let's say 3 or 4 a.m. We are in the royal borough of Kensington and Chelsea, Holland Park.
This is where the money lives.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
streets are quiet, the street lamps are humming, everything looks, peaceful. But we are going to zoom in on one specific window, in one specific flat, where the peace is being absolutely shattered, but only on the inside.
Yeah, it's the hour of the wolf.
Hmm.
The hour where you can't lie to yourself anymore. And inside this flat, we find a man named Richard Tull.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard is doing something that, according to our sources, a lot of men in cities do at this hour. He is crying in his sleep.
Crying in his sleep. That is such a disturbing image right off the bat. Not waking up and crying, sleeping and crying.
Exactly. It's involuntary. The source material is very, very specific about this. It says that men all over the city do this, and then they wake up and say, it's nothing. They just dismiss it. But Richard's wife, Gina, she's awake too. She's lying there next to him, and she knows the truth. She knows tears cold.
Tears cold. That phrase stopped me in my tracks when I read through the stack. It implies that this has been going on for a while, right?
Absolutely.
If the tears are cold, he's been leaking despair for hours. It's not a sudden burst of emotion. It's a steady state.
It creates this incredibly lived-in, almost claustrophobic atmosphere immediately. The text describes the towely smell of marriage in the bed. It's not romantic. It's not idealized. It's the smell of two people who've been together a long time, dealing with the grind of biology and, well, disappointment. And when Richard finally does wake up, he isn't refreshed. He is crushed.
The tiredness. We have to unpack the tiredness because this isn't just, I need a double espresso.
No, this is a forensic distinction the source makes. There is local tiredness, which is what you feel after a long day or a workout. It's curable.
Mm-hmm.
You sleep, you feel better. Richard is suffering from greater tiredness. This is the tiredness of gravity. It is the accumulated weight of being 40 years old, of every failure, every compromise, every moment of time lived just pushing down on his organs. It's metaphysical exhaustion.
And this brings us to the title of today's deep dive, and the title of the source material, The Information. Because Richard isn't just sad, he has received the information. What exactly is this information?
Well, on the surface, it sounds like data. But in this context, the information is the cosmic realization of your own mortality. It's the news that you are not special, that the universe is expanding away from you, and that you are going to die.
Wow.
It's the signal that breaks through the static of daily life, usually at night, to tell you that you are finite.
That is terrifying. And for Richard Tull, that terror is compounded by the fact that he's a failure. Let's look at his dossier. He's nearly 40. He's a book reviewer.
Which is already, let's be honest, a profession for people who are judging the game rather than playing it.
Right. And he's a failed novelist.
Failed is almost too kind. He is an aggressively unsuccessful novelist. And this is where we have to introduce the other side of the coin. The source of his pain. Because Richard's condition isn't just about death, it's about envy. It's about a man named Gwyn Barry.
Gwyn Barry. Just the name sounds beige.
It is beige. And that is the problem. Gwyn and Richard are best friends. They're contemporaries. They started at the same starting line.
Mm-hmm.
But while Richard has spiraled down into this greater tiredness, Gwyn has ascended. Gwyn is wealthy. Gwyn is famous. Gwyn is happily married to an aristocrat. And most unforgivably, Gwyn is a terrible writer.
This is the engine of the whole story. It's Cain and Abel if Cain was a chain-smoking intellectual and Abel was a smug guy who wrote self-help fiction. We are going to chronicle the unraveling of Richard Tull as he tries to destroy Gwyn. This isn't just a rivalry, it's a war.
And the stakes are absolute. It's a forensic examination of male rivalry. Richard doesn't just want what Gwyn has. He wants Gwyn to not have it.
And that distinction is crucial. So let's get into the forensic evidence of this disparity. Part 1. The Tale of Two Writers. If we look at their lives side by side, it's almost comical. Let's start with where they live.
Richard lives on Kelchalk Street. It's a chaotic, noisy, messy part of the city. His flat is described as a sort of containment zone for domestic entropy.
Right.
And his car, we have to talk about the car.
The Red Maestro?
The Red Maestro. It is a rolling dumpster. The source details the contents, Ribena cartons, dead tennis balls, just general filth. It's a physical manifestation of Richard's mind.
Cluttered, stained, and barely functioning.
Exactly.
And physically, Richard is falling apart. The source uses some incredible phrasing here. He thinks he is nuts in the nose.
Yes, nuts in the nose. He hallucinates a smell. He thinks he constantly smells of excrement. He's paranoid that he stinks, and he's nuts in the Johnson.
Which is, let's be clear for you listening,
It's impotence. He is losing his virility. He feels his power draining away.
so he's smelly, he's tired, and he's impotent.
And then you look at his work. The titles of his novels really tell the whole story.
Oh, I have the list here. It is tragic, untitled, unpublished, unfinished,
It keeps going.
unwritten, unattempted, and finally, unconceived.
It's a taxonomy of failure. He is the master of the un. He puts so much effort into making his books complex and modernist and difficult that nobody can actually read them. He's writing for an audience of 0.
And then we cut to Holland Park, the leafy, expensive, quiet streets where Gwyn Barry lives.
Gwyn lives in a mansion. He drives a German car that works. He is married to Lady Demeter Demi, who is actual aristocracy. But the real knife in Richard's heart is Gwyn's book, Amelia.
Amelia, it sounds like a skin cream.
It effectively is. It's a polite book. It's a utopian novel about a group of people who just decide to be nice to each other. It's bland. It offends no one. It challenges no one.
And because of that, the world loves it.
It's a global bestseller.
So you have Richard, who is trying to be Joyce or Kafka and failing. And you have Gwyn, who is writing the literary equivalent of elevator music and being treated like a messiah.
Exactly. Richard calls Gwyn the prophet of the trivial. He believes that the world has gone mad because it is rewarding mediocrity. And he, Richard, is the victim of a cosmic injustice.
There is one specific event that really crystallizes this dynamic. The birthday lunch. This scene, it made me wince physically.
It is the inciting incident for the revenge plot. It's a joint celebration. Richard turns 40. Gwyn turns 40 the next day. They go to a fancy fish restaurant. But look at the guest list.
It's not Richard's friends, it's financiers, captains of industry, columnists, the money men.
People Richard despises but desperately wants to impress.
Mm-hmm.
And they are all there for Gwyn. They're feeding Gwyn. Richard is sitting there, ignored, eating his fish, realizing he is a ghost at his own feast.
And he snaps. He decides, I'm going to assert my intellectual dominance.
That move.
He gets drunk, classic Richard move, and he decides to make a speech.
The spider speech.
Oh, God, walk us through this train wreck.
So Richard turns to this female columnist next to him, and he starts this aggressive, rambling metaphor about gender. He talks about male spiders versus female spiders.
Mm-hmm.
He asks the table to imagine the plight of the male spider limping away from the mating ritual because the female has eaten his leg.
Imagine me limping away, legless. It's so uncomfortable. You can just feel the room clenching.
It's deeply revealing.
Yeah.
He is telling them, I am the victim here. I am the male spider. The world is eating me. But to them, he just sounds like a drunk lunatic ranting about arachnids. He alienates the entire table.
The room goes silent.
Deathly silent. And this is where Gwyn wins the war without lifting a finger.
Right.
Gwyn steps in. The peacemaker. The bland hero. He smiles and says, I find I never think in terms of men. I always think in terms of people.
I always think in terms of people. It is such a vacuous, empty statement. It means nothing.
It's a bumper sticker. But the room loves it. They applaud. They see Gwyn as this enlightened soul and Richard as this bitter, misogynistic dinosaur.
Gwyn uses his blandness as a shield, and Richard impales himself on it.
And that moment, the applause for the banality, that is the breaking point. Richard realizes he can't win by writing better books. He can't win by being smarter. The game is rigged.
So he decides to flip the board.
He decides to stop being a writer and start being a villain. He decides that if he can't destroy Gwyn literarily, he will destroy him physically. He wants to introduce chaos into Gwyn's perfect air-conditioned life.
Which brings us to part 2, the instrument of chaos. Richard needs a hireling. He needs a thug.
He goes looking for the violent. He thinks he can just go to a rough pub and buy violence like he's buying a pint of milk.
Yeah, like it's on a menu.
Right. He ends up at places like the Canal Creperie and the Warlock Pub.
And he finds Steve Cousins, also known as Skazi, also known as the Wild Boy.
Skazi is one of the most terrifying characters in this entire chronicle. Because Richard thinks he is hiring a yob, a simple thug.
But Skazi is complicated.
He's a thug who reads. He reads Elias Canetti's Crowds and Power. He reads T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. He understands the disintegration of society better than Richard does. Richard thinks he's the smart one hiring the muscle.
But he's out of his depth.
Completely. Skazi is an intellectual force of his own, just one that operates in the dark.
Skazi has this profile, dyed hair, wire-thin rings, this intense stare, and he has a motto. When I start, I don't stop.
That should have been the red flag. Richard thinks he can control the dial. He wants a slap. He wants Gwyn to be roughed up a bit, a free sample of violence.
But Skazi doesn't do samples.
Skazi does total war.
Skazi also comes with a sidekick, a young kid named 13.
Right, 13. A young black kid, usually found in their soiled orange van drinking Ting. He's the silent observer. He represents the youth that Richard is completely disconnected from.
So the surveillance begins. Skazi starts stalking Gwyn and Demeter, and there is a scene that shifts the tone from kind of dark satire to pure horror. The intruder scene.
Skazi breaks into Gwyn's house in Holland Park. But he doesn't smash a window and grab the TV. He picks the lock. He walks in.
Oh, that's so much worse.
He stands in their bedroom while they're asleep.
That is infinitely worse than being robbed.
It is. He stands over them. He observes them. He feeds on their vulnerability. He wants to know the information about them, where they're weak, what they fear. He doesn't touch them.
No.
He just exerts power over them. It's a violation of the sanctuary.
And Richard, does he know this is happening? Is he okay with this?
Richard is trying to manage this from a distance, but the lines of communication are messy. Richard asks for a sample. Skazi decides to interpret that.
Right.
He sends his associate, a guy named Crash, to stage a car accident with Demeter.
The idea is to terrify her, to make her feel unsafe in her own car.
Exactly. Ram her car, intimidate her, make the world feel hostile. But, and here's the cosmic joke again, it backfires.
Because Demeter is impressed. How is she impressed?
She's impressed. Crash is such a skilled driver that the accident is actually a display of precision driving. Demeter comes away from it thinking, wow, that man can really handle a car.
No way.
She isn't traumatized. She's titillated.
It drives Richard insane. Even his hitmen are charming his enemies.
It reinforces the theme. Richard cannot control the narrative. He thinks he's writing a tragedy for Gwyn, but the universe keeps turning it into a farce.
Speaking of farce, let's move to part 3. Richard realizes the violence isn't working, or at least it's not working fast enough. So he opens a new front. The seduction.
The logic is simple. If I can't beat him, I'll sleep with his wife. He decides to seduce Demeter.
The weekend at Byland Court. This is the centerpiece of Richard's humiliation.
It is a disaster from minute one. They go to this country estate. Richard wants to be the suave, dangerous lover, but physically he is a wreck. He has a black eye from a previous mishap with Skazi. He's hungover.
He's not exactly James Bond at this point.
Not at all. And then the trousers.
We have to talk about the trousers.
It is the most grotesque detail. Richard goes for a walk. He sits down on the grass to brood. But he sits in, well, the text is specific, he sits in the afterbirth of a Labrador.
Oh, God. It's not just mud. It's biological waste.
It's sticky, it's smelly, it's horrific. He ruins his only pair of trousers. So he spends the rest of the weekend wearing borrowed clothes that don't fit, smelling like a wet dog. He looks like a scarecrow. The idea that he could seduce anyone is laughable.
And yet, in the middle of this slapstick routine, he gets a win. He gets a confession from Demeter.
He does. He gets her alone. He's fishing for information. And Demeter, maybe because she pities him, or maybe just because she needs to vent, she admits it.
What does she say?
She says, Gwyn can't write for toffee.
Can't write for toffee.
It's the golden nugget. Richard clings to that. Even Gwyn's wife knows he's a fraud. For Richard, that validation is better than sex. It confirms his reality.
But it's not enough. He wants public ruin, so he tries the honey trap. He hires Belladonna.
Belladonna, a young girl, very damaged, associated with a criminal named Darko. Richard pays her to seduce Gwyn. He wants the tabloid scandal.
Best-selling author caught with teenage junkie. Yeah, I can see the headline.
And does it work?
Let me guess. No.
Again, the Teflon Gwyn effect kicks in. Gwyn is so protected by his own self-regard that he doesn't fall for it in the traditional way. He doesn't sleep with her. He's too careful for that. But, and this is where it gets stark, he allows her to perform oral sex on him.
But the context is what makes it so bizarre.
While she is doing this, she is talking to him. And she's talking about his book, Amelia. She's quoting it.
Wait. She's quoting his Be Nice novel while performing a sexual act on him.
Yes. And Gwyn, in his incredible narcissism, spins this later to Richard. He doesn't describe it as a sordid encounter. He describes it as a literary triumph.
You're kidding me.
He says she knew the text, Richard. She really understood the message.
He thinks his writing is so powerful it compels people to worship him physically.
Exactly. He sees it as proof of his genius.
Yeah.
The honey trap doesn't destroy him. It just inflates his ego even more.
Yeah.
Richard is banging his head against the wall.
So, the violence failed. The seduction failed. The honey trap failed. Now comes the biggest stage of all. The U.S. book tour.
Richard manages to tag along. His excuse is that he's writing a profile on Gwyn, but really, he wants to witness Gwyn's failure. He thinks, surely America will see through him. America is tough. They won't buy this polite nonsense.
But he is wrong. America loves Gwyn.
America is the capital of Gwynism. It's the land of optimism and shallow positivity.
Yeah.
Amelia is a sensation. We go to the publisher's office, and there's something called the carrying barrel.
What on earth is a carrying barrel?
It's literal barrels, display bins, filled with books about caring. It's the industrialization of empathy. It's absurd. And Richard is just standing there watching Gwyn being treated like the second coming.
And Richard is treated like luggage.
Worse, he is invisible.
Ugh.
Publicists look right through him. And the readings, oh, the contrast is brutal. Gwyn reads to packed theaters. Richard is sent to do a reading in a basement.
To the Coven of Tramps.
Yes, a coven of tramps. Homeless people who just came in for the warmth. And one guy, John Two Moons, a Native American acquaintance who heckles him.
So he's reading his complex modernist prose to people who are literally shouting at him.
Yes. And physically, this is where Richard breaks. The nosebleed.
The flight. They are on a plane. Richard goes to the bathroom, and his nose just opens up. It's a massive hemorrhage.
Yeah.
He is bleeding into the sink, covering the tiny bathroom in blood. It feels symbolic. He is expelling his own vitality.
It is. He is bleeding out from envy. His body is rejecting the situation. He is dying of Gwyn Barry. The expert analysis here is that the tour cements Richard's insignificance. He realizes he is no longer the hero of a literary novel. He has wandered into a horror genre.
And in a horror genre, the monster eventually gets loose. Let's go back to London. Back to Skazi. Because while Richard has been in America getting nosebleeds, Skazi has been thinking.
Skazi is frustrated. The slap didn't work. The car crash didn't work. He needs to find the button that destroys Gwyn. And he has an epiphany in the most unlikely place.
He's watching pornography.
He is. He's watching a video called Test Tube Babes. It's a soulless, mechanical adult film. But then, by accident, a kitten wanders onto the set.
A real kitten in the middle of this.
A real living kitten. It walks among the actors. And Skazi fixates on it. He realizes the kitten is innocent. It is unaware of the ergonomic reality of the sex happening around it.
It's pure.
It's pure. And this triggers a realization. It connects to his desire to destroy innocence. He realizes that hurting adults doesn't work because adults are already corrupted. To truly hurt someone, to truly bring chaos, you have to target the innocent. You have to target a child.
But Gwyn doesn't have children.
No. And this is the twist that makes your blood run cold.
Oh, no.
Skazi decides to target Marco, Richard's son.
Wait. Richard is the client. Richard is the one paying him. Why would he target his employer's son?
Because to Skazi, Richard and Gwyn are the same. They are the man. They are the establishment. Richard hired him, then tried to call it off, then tried to control him.
Right.
Skazi decides that Richard is just as guilty as Gwyn. Chaos does not distinguish between the paymaster and the victim. Skazi decides that destroying Richard's family is a perfectly valid way to complete the mission.
That is the ultimate backfire. Richard summoned a demon to eat his enemy, and the demon turned around and looked at his son.
Precisely. And this sets up part 5, the climax on Kelchok Street. This is the scene where everything converges.
Let's set the scene carefully. It's a Friday. Richard and Gwyn are actually together. They've been playing tennis. They've been drinking.
They are inseparable. The text calls them Henchard and Farfrae, referencing Thomas Hardy. They balance each other out. They are walking back to Richard's flat.
Meanwhile, at the flat, the defenses are down. Gina is out at the baths. The babysitter, Lizette, has made a critical error. She has left the twins, Marco and Marius, alone for just a few minutes to go shopping.
It is the nightmare scenario. The door is unlocked. The kids are vulnerable. And Skazi is there.
Skazi approaches Marco on the street. He doesn't grab him immediately. He uses psychological manipulation.
He says, I know your dad. It's the classic predator tactic. Familiarity. He points to the orange van. He tells Marco he has kittens in the van.
The kittens again from the video.
It's a callback to his epiphany. He is trying to lure Marco into the darkness. Marco is terrified. The text says he senses the storm light. He knows instinctively that this man is a monster.
This is the moment where the tragedy should happen. The kid gets in the van, and the story ends in horror. But there is a variable Skazi didn't account for.
13. The sidekick.
13 is in the van. He's watching this happen.
13 is a criminal, yes.
Yeah.
But he has a line. He watches Skazi trying to abduct a child, and he feels physically sick. He realizes this isn't business. This is the other thing.
This is evil.
This is evil. So what does he do?
He rebels.
Passive resistance. He starts the van. He drives it slowly past Skazi. He refuses to open the door. He refuses to participate.
That hesitation, that delay,
Yeah.
is everything. Because look who is coming down the street.
Richard and Gwyn. And Lisette running back with her shopping bags. Everyone converges at once.
And the confrontation, is there a fight?
No. And this is the brilliance of it. It's a non-event. Skazi sees the adults. He sees the numbers are against him. He sees 13 is leaving. The tension just evaporates. The stormlight breaks.
What does Skazi do?
He looks at Richard. And he says 3 words. I'm a child.
I'm a child. What does that mean?
It's a taunt. Richard had treated him like a child earlier, like a subordinate. Now Skazi is throwing it back. He's saying, you think I'm a child, I almost took yours. He's mocking Richard's naivety. And then he just walks away.
He just leaves.
He leaves. The orange van, the symbol of Richard's chaotic revenge, drives away. And at the same moment, Gwyn's German car, the symbol of success, drives past.
Both potential futures passing by.
Exactly. He is left standing on the pavement, holding his tennis racket, with his son safe beside him.
He survived. He came within inches of destroying his own life, and he survived by sheer luck.
Luck and the conscience of a teenage accomplice.
So we reached the outro, the aftermath. After all this madness, the hitmen, the nosebleeds, the near abduction, where do Richard and Gwyn end up?
They end up exactly where they started, back at the chessboard.
Literally playing chess.
Yes, they're playing a game. Richard admits, in a roundabout way, that he tried to destroy Gwyn. And Gwyn admits he knows Richard is writing a hostile profile.
They know everything about each other.
The masks are off.
And yet, they are still friends. They are still locking horns.
They are trapped in a binary star system. Richard hates Gwyn. But he needs Gwyn to define himself. He needs someone to envy. And Gwyn needs Richard. He needs Richard's envy to validate his success. He needs an audience.
It's a toxic, eternal bond.
And this brings us back to the information. The story ends with a cosmic perspective. Richard has survived, but he has changed. He has received the news.
The news that he is small.
The news that the universe is vast and indifferent. The source material ends with this beautiful, terrifying image of the galaxy moving through the anti-galaxy. A collision where, most frequently, nothing happens. Stars pass each other in the dark.
Most frequently, nothing happens. That's Richard's life. He tried to cause a collision, but nothing happened.
He is standing on the street. The apple blossom is loosening in the wind. He is 40. He is a failure. But he is alive. He has looked into the abyss, and the abyss blinked first.
Let's take a step back and look at the big themes here before we wrap up. We talked about the information as mortality, but let's talk about envy as a disease.
It's the central diagnosis of this whole case. It shows us that envy isn't a passive emotion. It's an active eating thing. It ate Richard's talent. It ate his health. Remember the nosebleed? It almost ate his family.
It turns tragedy into farce.
Exactly. Richard wanted to be a tragic hero. He wanted to be Heathcliff. But envy made him a clown. It put him in the dog's afterbirth. It made him impotent. You can't be dignified when you're envious. It strips you naked.
And then there is the criminal versus intellectual theme. Richard thought his big brain could control Skazi's violence.
That is the arrogance of the intellectual. Richard thinks words are power. Skazi knows that power is power. When Richard stepped into Skazi's world, he was a tourist in a war zone.
Yeah.
He was completely outmatched. It's a warning. Don't invite chaos into your life if you aren't prepared to bleed.
And finally, the concept of the little death.
The loss of vitality. We see Richard mourning his own potential. The list of unwritten books. That is the saddest part of the archive. For me, he is grieving the man he thought he would be.
He thought he would be Gwyn, or at least he thought he would be the genius that Gwyn pretends to be.
And realizing you are not that person. That is the information, too. Like, accepting your own mediocrity is the hardest pill to swallow.
So what is the takeaway for you listening to this? Why should you care about 2 dysfunctional writers in London?
Because we all have a Richard inside us. And we all have a Gwyn Barry in our lives. We all know someone who seems to glide through life, succeeding without effort while we struggle and sweat.
The person who gets the promotion, the person who buys the bigger house.
Exactly. And the lesson of the information is that looking at them, obsessing over them, will kill you. It will poison your own life. While Richard was staring at Gwyn, he almost lost Marco. He almost lost the only thing that actually mattered.
That is the haunting thought to leave on. The information tells you that you're going to die, but the hidden information is that you are alive right now, and you might be missing it because you're too busy watching the other guy.
Don't watch the other guy. Watch the road. Watch your kids. Watch the apple blossom in the wind.
Deep stuff. Thank you for walking us through the dark alleys of literary London.
My pleasure. Just maybe check the locks tonight.
And avoid the orange fans. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.